Here's an app that will change the way you email. If you receive an email that you need to reply to later, just mark it as reply later. Or if you receive an email that you need to refer back to later and have quick access to, just set it aside. And if you receive a newsletter and you don't want all of your newsletters to clutter up your inbox, just move it to a special part called the feed. This is emailed by hey.com, and I haven't even shown you its best feature yet. I'll get there in a second, but first I want to explain why Hey is so powerful. I started using Gmail in 2004, and I used Gmail for 16 years. And over those 16 years, Gmail got a lot better. It was already good to begin with, but it got even faster and it got some new features. But I never found a Gmail workflow that really works for me. I kept getting more and more emails that I didn't want to deal with that weren't quite spam, and I always kept figuring out how should I mark emails that I need to deal with later. Should I leave them on unread or should I star them? But I never really found a way that works, even with third-party apps like Newton Mail or Spark Mail or even just Apple Mail. So this all changed a few years ago when I started using Hey. Hey just makes all of those things so easy with built-in workflows. And here's the best part about Hey. If someone emails you for the first time, their email will show up in this thing called the screener. And you can say, hey, I want to receive emails from this person, or I don't. So let's see, what have we got here? Pedro wants to sell me some products and SEO optimization. And you know what? I get so many of these emails all the time. It's just people blasting out emails to lots of people. It's not personalized. They don't actually know about my business. I don't need help with this anyway. But I know that if I let this person email me, he's just going to email me again and again and again. I don't want to receive his email, so all I do is I press no, and now I'll never see his emails again unless I go to a separate section in Hey that is screened out. So I can always check that nothing accidentally went in there, but hey, my inbox stays nice and clean. So this is a great feature. Now earlier when I set aside that email, that flight confirmation email, it's right here. It's on the set aside list. And this also is on the mobile Hey app, by the way. So if you're at the airport and you quickly need to pull that up, it'll be right there. Here's a cool feature. I can open that email up and I can actually change the title of the email. Now this only changes it for me, not for other people, but I can say flight from AMS to SVQ, I think is Sevilla. There you go. And I can save that. And now if I go back and I look at my set aside pile, it's nicely tagged like this. I also have another flight here and an Airbnb reservation. Very handy for retrieving emails that you might need once or twice later, or more than just once or twice. How about that email that I marked as reply later? Here it is on this particular pile. Now I can just click it and then deal with it like that. But there's a very cool feature in Hey called Focus and Reply. If I click Focus and Reply, I will see at a glance all of the emails that I've marked as reply later that I need to do something with. So here's an invoice that I need to pay, so I can just click on it, pay the invoice, and then click here and mark done. And then that's that. And here's an email that someone sent me in a reply to my newsletter, so I can just be like, hey, thanks for emailing me, and so on and so forth. And then I can send that email, boom, and work through the next one. It's ideal for batch processing your email. Now, those are the main features that make me recommend Hey as the best email app for most people. But there's some other smaller features that are really cool as well. And one of them is Ignore. Let's say you're on a really large email chain where 25 people are CC'd and you want off the chain. All you do is ignore the email, press ignore on it, and you'll still receive those emails, but they won't show up as unread or unseen in the Hey lingo for you. Now, another cool feature is that you can bubble up an email. So if I got this email right here, I can say bubble up later, and that's basically snooze. Another one is workflow. That's pretty cool. And if you do this, you can actually create a Kanban kind of board. So if I do a demo workflow right here, what will happen is you'll get a Kanban board and you can add stages to it. So for example, I could do this if I were to deal with clients. I could say potential clients, and I could say, you know what, the first stage is request for information. And the second stage is contract signed, and so on and so forth. So you can do a little project management almost right inside of Hey. Now, a final feature that I wanted to highlight about Hey that's pretty cool, and I'll show you right here. If you get, for example, a newsletter, often there's tracking stuff attached to that newsletter. And you know what? I send my own newsletter. By the way, if you want to sign up for that, just go to my website, peterrockes.net, and the link is also in the description below the video. I don't really want to track who opens my newsletters, but unfortunately the app that I use to send my newsletter does that. And so Hey automatically blocks those kind of tracking pixels. So it's kind of like turning off read receipts on Apple Messages or WhatsApp or something like that, which I always have turned off because I don't want other people to know when I've read their messages. Now, other email apps have similar features to the ones that I just showed you. For example, in Gmail, you could star email that you still need to reply to later, or you could mark it as unread, or you could create a label for it. But the implementation is not as neat as the implementation in Hey, where you have the separate reply later and set aside files. And speaking of set aside, there's an email app called Spark Email, which is quite good, and it does have a set aside pile. But again, it doesn't split that pile into set aside and reply later, which is so handy about what Hey does. And finally, an app like Apple Mail actually lets you block or thumbs down senders that you don't want to receive emails from again. But in Apple Mail, you have to go out of your way to do this after you've already received someone's email. Whereas the nice thing about Hey is that those emails will not land in your inbox the first time someone emails you. You have to give them permission. Now, that's not to say that email by Hey is perfect. It's not. For example, its contacts don't sync with my iCloud contacts, which is kind of annoying. I can import my iCloud contacts into Hey, but they won't keep syncing as a two-way sync or even as a one-way sync. And Hey Email also forces you to use its own apps. So you can't access your Hey email in Apple Mail, for example, or in Outlook or any other email client. You have to use the Hey apps. Fortunately, those are available for pretty much all devices. Another limitation is that you cannot import your old email into Hey. I actually thought that was going to be a big problem when I first started using Hey. I thought I was going to refer back to old email all the time and that it was going to be annoying, but I really don't find myself actually looking up old emails that often, and when I do, it's very easy to just pop over to gmail.com or open the Gmail app. Happens very rarely though. I'll leave you with this. It took me a while to get used to the Hey workflows, but now that I've been using them, I don't want to go without them anymore. It's so nice to just be able to thumbs down people, to mark emails as reply later, and then batch process them using the focus and reply feature. And the set aside function is also very, very handy and keeps my email organized. Maybe other apps will catch up at some point, but until then, you absolutely have to try Hey Email if you haven't done so already. The only thing is that before you do that, hey, I wouldn't be a good YouTuber if I didn't ask you to like and subscribe. So please do that if you enjoyed this video. Go check out Hey over at hey.com. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one. Ciao.